Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome. Today we have a slightly different topic. Today we're going to talk about cruising tips for first-time cruisers. So if you've done a cruise before, and you have some tips to share, we'd love to hear them. If you have never cruised before and you're not sure what to expect, jot your questions down below because we're here to answer those questions. I know, like, especially with my channel, it has primarily been focused on all-inclusive resorts, Mexico, Caribbean, that kind of thing, where we've mainly looked at all-inclusive resorts. There have been occasions when we've talked about non-all-inclusive properties, and there's also been times when we've done travel to other places and also to cruising. You'll recall that I was hoping to be on a cruise this week. A few months ago, we decided to try out Holland America's new standby program, and unfortunately, we didn't make the cut. The cruises for Alaska are selling out, like 100% sold out, pretty much from now till the end of the season. So as I've said before, if you want to cruise to Alaska, you want to do it on one of the smaller ships, that would ideally be something like a Holland America cruise line. Trying to do the standby program is almost certainly not going to work because there just isn't the availability. And they've also changed the program recently. And so if it is something that you want to try, I've said this before, but basically what it's changed to is now it's $99 per person per day for an inside or an ocean view cabin. If you want a balcony cabin, you can go on the standby list for that. It's $129 per person per day. That's US dollars, and that doesn't include taxes. Every itinerary is slightly different in terms of the taxes. If you sail from Vancouver, you pay less tax than if you sail from Vancouver. So that's a good tip right there. There's it can be a good discounted program. It's not saving you tons though. And the kicker is you pay for it when you sign up, when you go into the standby list, and then you don't find out until between 2 and 7 days prior to sailing. So it's, there's a lot of stress involved. At that point, you're trying to figure out, do I do any last minute packing or, that kind of thing. So it's especially when you find out in the end that you didn't actually get on board. So that kind of sucks. Who do we have? Oh, hello, Angelo. How are you doing? Oh, in Tennessee. Wow, somebody's traveling. Hello, Roxanne. How are you? Good to hear from you guys. Angelo and Roxanne, I don't know if you guys have done cruising. Angelo, I know you're kind of the king of well, not Hyatt necessarily, but the Hyatt Inclusive Collection now, as they call it, Secrets and Dreams Resorts and stuff like that. Let me know if you guys have any tips. But we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I don't know if we're going to get through all of these. I literally have 2 full pages of tips. So we're going to see how many of these we can get through. And I am going to do a separate fully edited video about the cruise tips. I was hoping to do that from the cruise ship this week, but I might try to do that in a couple of weeks' time from a different ship. So we shall see. Oh, Roxanne saying she hasn't cruised yet. And Angelo just left the Hyatt Place Knoxville and heading to Thompson, Nashville now. Wow. Busy traveling. Hello, Christine. How are you? No open concept bathrooms on cruise ships. This is a win, right? So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so I've numbered these so that they're somewhat in order. So number 1. Okay, so something to consider if you've never cruised before is some of the ships will have a lot of motion and others will not. Yeah, yeah, Jamie, I know you've traveled a lot. Um, when you're sailing on the West Coast, there does tend to be a lot of motion, and it's that corkscrew kind of thing. So you'll be sitting in the buffet or the main dining room, for example, and you'll see the ship will kind of go up like this. And this is not good. Just not good. Used to cruise before I started doing resorts. Oh, okay. A lot of Carnival. Interesting. Um, well, Carnival's cheap and cheerful, and apparently they have the best Reuben sandwiches in out of all of the cruise ships. So I've yet to sail with Carnival. I don't know myself, but yeah. So yeah, talking about the waves and stuff like that, it can be a lot. When we sailed up to Alaska, the captain actually went into Juneau early. Like we were scheduled to get in about I think 7 in the morning, and because we'd sailed from Seattle, so we went up the outside of Vancouver Island. So you're out in the ocean, as opposed to if you sail from Vancouver and you're not on a massive ship. But most of the time, if you sail from Vancouver, you'll go, if this is the island, you'll go, this is the mainland, you go up the middle. So it's really well protected. So if you're scared of cruising, or if you, because you don't swim or whatever, you're not comfortable being on the water, or if you just want to avoid that, if you're prone to seasickness, I am, then you'd want to consider that, because it does have an impact. Also, when you're looking at a repositioning cruise, those will go from either Vancouver or Seattle, usually down to, well, it could be just be Vancouver down to Seattle, or it could be down to LA, San Diego, San Francisco, any of the above. Or it could be the reverse route. And those, again, can be very rough. So you just want to bear that in mind. We got a couple of comments here. Christine saying she did a princess one about 10 years ago, prefer all-inclusive resorts. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before. There's a lot of pros and cons for both. But as Dee Dee the dog said just yesterday, there's a lot of nickel and diming that seems to go on with cruising now, and that's improving. They're starting to include the drink packages. They're starting to include some credits for excursions. They're starting to include gratuities. So it's getting better, but yeah, it's something to consider. Inside Passage is so great to see. Yeah, and actually, so I was doing a little bit of research yesterday, fact checking myself before I came on and started spewing a bunch of stuff. And I found that actually, technically speaking, the Inside Passage, the farthest south it goes is down in sort of into Washington State, and it's this whole series of waterways that goes right up to Skagway in Alaska. So it's the entire coastline. So that's the part that gets a little bit confusing, because over the years, a lot of the cruise lines have sort of likened Inside Passage cruising to sailing between Vancouver Island and mainland Canada. And that's in fact not accurate, because from Seattle, you're technically starting off in the Inside Passage. And then once you get up to like Haida Gwaii to the north end of, or Powell River to the north end, near where the tip of Vancouver Island, then you're still into those islands, and that's the Inside Passage as well. So it was an interesting thing to learn. Christine saying, would you consider Virgin Cruise? Yeah, if they have the drink package, but it's kind of weird. And I don't know, Sea Lake Journeys, if you're joining us today, but I know that they cruised with Virgin, and it was kind of eye-opening experience for them. And they're not big drinkers, but it was interesting to find out how they did their drink package. But Virgin is adult only cruising, so it's got appeal in different ways. So yeah, if you're considering doing a cruise, West Coast, either Alaska or repositioning, it can be very wavy. So, again, you want to sail out of Vancouver if you're going up to Alaska, because then ideally you'll go in between the island and the mainland. So it's just an easy tip. Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Thumbs up on that one. Okay, Kristen, tip number 2, always fly in the day before. You just never know when there's gonna be flight delays. I mean, Hurricane Beryl, which is now downgraded to, I think, just still tropical storm status, it's hitting Toronto. Toronto is kind of in the middle of Canada, and probably the Chicago area is probably getting a bit of deluge as well. So what happened is the storm came. I guess for you it's this way. Came in through the Caribbean and across Mexico, and then it went up and hit Texas pretty hard, and now it's gone up to where until basically hitting Toronto today. They're expecting like 30 to 40 millimeters of rain in sometimes per hour. So that's like 30, 40 centimeters is probably about like 2 inches, maybe 3 inches of rain in 1 hour. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Been raining for 2 days in Chicago, exactly. So it's not just the the eye of the storm that's going to impact things. It's also spread out. So that's impacting things. And of course, this is going to cause flight delays and all this kind of stuff. And as much as we all want to blame the airlines, at some point, the weather is really the ultimately responsible. So never fly in the same day. Also because, where's my second tip? Where's number 2? Yeah, so thank you, Tammy, for this tip. Big secret is, although your cruise documents will say what time you're supposed to board, okay, and they do that for a reason. They don't want to have, if the cruise holds 6,000 people, they don't want 6,000 people all trying to get through customs and immigration and doing the boarding pass and getting their keys and everything like that. They don't want to have 6,000 people arriving at the port doing that all at once. But when I sail with Tammy, we always go early and we always get on early. So you could get on early enough that you can enjoy lunch on board the ship. It's complimentary, right? All your food's included. And if your booze is included, then you start doing the countdown on your 15 drink maximum, right? But yeah, why not? So yeah, that's a good tip. Definitely take advantage of it. And get on the ship early if you can. Also, that's a really good opportunity for you to have a bit of time. The sail away party is amazing. Okay, so basically, I mean, even when we were sailing, remember, Tammy, when we sailed out of Fort Lauderdale, there was a tropical storm that hit, and it was pouring of rain. The Uber took us to the airport, or to the cruise port, and there was probably a foot or two of water. Downtown Miami, there was people who just abandoned their cars. Other people who got stuck in their cars, and they had to be they had to get people in canoes to come and rescue them and get them out. I mean, it was just terrible. But fortunately, we had flown in the day before, so that was no problem. And yeah, we were able to get to the cruise port and get on board and start exploring. Every cruise ship's a little bit different in terms of their layout, but generally speaking, you only have so many decks where you can walk from the front to the back. And so it's good to know, to kind of get oriented to where your cabin is, which section it is. If you're sailing on Norwegian, they will often have a design in the carpet so that you can tell which way you're going. I think if there's usually often have fish on the carpet, which is great. If they just have squiggly geometric designs, are you going the right way? You going to the front? Are you going to the back? And so the worst thing is walking to the exact opposite end of the ship and then realizing that you needed to be in the other corner at the back of the ship instead of at the front. So yeah, get on board. And so with the fish, sometimes they'll have it so that the fish are all sailing against the stream or something. I forget exactly what it was, but helpful tip to know. But yeah, just get on board, get oriented, do your muster drill thing, watch the video and all that, and then you can hop on and start enjoying. Welcome, Sea Lake Journeys. How are you? It's been a while. So we're just hopping on doing some different cruise tips. We've already covered flying in a day early and avoiding being conscious of the fact that West Coast cruises are going to be wavy, a little bit wavy. Another tip is for dining. If you choose set dining, then you're going to, one of the questions they're going to ask you is what table size you want. So your travel agent will either set you up with, you can sometimes request a table for 2. You can request a table for up to a maximum of 8, I believe it is. It's been a while. I always book anytime dining so that you can just sit at a table wherever you like. If you have just there's 2 of you, often you'll have to wait for a bit to get a table, but 2 is better than 4. But honestly, like Tammy and I, and when my husband and I went on a cruise and we just did it that way, it was great. You never had to worry about it. And the nice thing is too, then, I mean, if they sit you with a group of at a table for 8, then you're sharing the table with a bunch of people. This can be a great way to make new friends or to find out which people you really want to avoid on the ship. If you get somebody like me at your table that's just going to talk about travel, it might be a good thing. It's probably not. But if you do find that when you get on board, you're not happy with your dining situation, go to the maitre d' in the restaurant, and they can often help make changes. I'm going to start making notes here, which ones I've covered. That one. I've done 2. Where did 3 go? 3 disappeared. Oh, 3's right there. 3 and 4. Okay, now we're on the hunt for number 5. It would have been useful if I'd put this into a spreadsheet, but sometimes it's just easier to do things the old-fashioned way. The main dining room on a ship, so dining options. The main dining room is free to enjoy. And the menus change daily. So that's always kind of a fun thing. I would always enjoy getting up in the morning, and the first thing I would do is take the stairs, head down to the main dining room, check out the menus. Get travel insurance. Oh, that's a good one, actually. And I hadn't even put that on here. Make sure it includes airlift. So, I mean, nobody plans to get sick. Nobody plans to have an accident. But that's what insurance is for, so that you don't end up with, a $20,000 or $40,000 bill as a fabulous souvenir from your cruise, right? Not good. Dining. So the menu changes daily. So I would always go down and check it out and, just see what different options they were going to have. They do have specialty dining. And again, this is another situation where compared to all-inclusives, I don't remember I do. Okay, I've stayed at some budget I stayed at a budget all-inclusive in Spain. It's cheap and cheerful, family reunion. It didn't really matter. The whole point was just to get together with everybody. But in Mexico, I don't even remember. It would have been 15 or more years was maybe the last time that I ever stayed at a resort that didn't have more than one option for dinner. So specialty dining is kind of the norm at all-inclusive resorts, and there's no extra cost for this. Whereas on a cruise ship, any of the specialty dining would have an extra charge. So that's kind of a pain. Okay, that's number 6. Number 5. Number 6. Oh, usually on the cruise, you'll have at least 1, if not 2 formal nights, depending on the length of the cruise. And those are usually going to be the at-sea days. So it kind of gives you a chance to get all gussied up if that's what you want to do. You don't have to. I mean, it's an option. We've seen everything from full-length evening gowns and tuxedos to, guys that wear the T-shirts that have the sort of necktie as if it's a tuxedo, but it's just a T-shirt. I mean, you paid for the cruise. So can they deny you entry into the main dining room, which is the main complimentary dining venue? Well, it's a bit like a all-inclusive resort where, they are going to say, men have to wear long pants or sandals aren't allowed, no flip-flops, that kind of thing. I get it. But not everybody wants to dress up, especially for the guys. I think the guys have the toughest go because dressing up usually means long pants and at least a nice shirt maybe a tie, maybe a suit jacket, maybe a tux. Whereas women, I mean, like, you can get away with a sequiny, flashy dress and you're good to go, right? But if that's not for you, if you don't want that whole dress up experience, you want to go casual, you can. The buffet is always going to be open, so that's really not a problem. And you know what? There's no shortage of judgment from people about this. If you go into any cruise forum, ask what people think about the whole dress code thing and if people should be allowed to wear jeans to the main dining room on formal night. You will have no shortage of responses. This I guarantee you. In the rooms, there are comment. To never have to check up at the buffet or burger place. Exactly. So there are still going to be options for you to get hot food. I mean, you're not just like, they're not going to send you away with like a little thing of crackers or something. You can actually get proper food. So that's all good. Hey, Cruise Nuts, how are you? Good to hear from you. Glad you're here. So we're just kind of going through all the different cruise tips and stuff like that. And I haven't listed them, but we've covered off a pretty good amount of stuff. So since we're going well, we've got about 20 different tips, and so far we're on number 7. So number 7 is that there are very limited outlets in the room. So you might have 2 plugs. You might have some additional USBs if it's a newer ship, but otherwise charging stuff can be a bit challenging. Just bear that in mind. Now, I did do I've got a picture for you. So here, this is an example, and Prime Days are coming up next week, which I found out is not just Canada, but it's also in the US. We've got a QR code for you there, but this one's $25. This is approved for cruise ships because it does not have a surge protector. That's the most critical piece. And as you can see, it's got 3 plugs as well as 3 USB ports. So that's 25 Canadian, which is about, I don't know, $3 American. I'm just kidding. Not really. That's a lot cheaper in American. But that's an option for you. And I've put the link to that in the description below. So if that's something that you think you would find useful, it's just great for keeping everything charged. I mean, I use my phone for almost all of my photos. I also have my Insta360. Thank you very much. Which after a year, I've finally started to figure out how to use. Nothing like difficult technology. But yeah, definitely bring a multi-plug. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble charging stuff, especially if you've got a Kindle or you're bringing a laptop as well as your phone. So it's just going to help keep things organized and keep them charged. That said, counter space is at a premium. The cruise cabins are tiny. I mean, it's not uncommon for a cruise ship cabin to be 300 or 400 square feet. That's including the balcony space, and including the bathroom, and the bathrooms are tiny. So one of the ways that you can help, and there's not a lot of storage space, so one of the things that can help is if you bring some wall hooks, some magnetic wall hooks. The walls are all metal. They're kind of built like boxes, and this is partly to make them more fire retardant, and also it's just the way they're designed. So if you've got some metallic hooks, then you can easily use these to hang your purse, your travel bag, hang hats, anything that's going to be taking up space on counters. This way you can hang it up and it gets out of the way. So that's quite nice. And again, I've got back here. So these are a couple of examples. How much were they? I found the 100-pound hooks, you get 4 of them. Those were $22. Again, that's Canadian. And the 80-pound hooks, this is a 10-pack, and they're $17. Now, the ones that I bought the first time hooks that were up to 35 pounds, and they weren't very strong at all. And so they barely even, like, I had a hat hanging on it and it barely held that up on the wall. So you want to go with something a little bit heftier. Do bear in mind it's a magnet, And of course, if you have it too close to any of your electronics, like you're obviously not going to store it in beside your phone or anything like that, because electronics things do not like magnets. So just bear that in mind. But super, super handy for freeing up space on your countertop. And speaking of Prime Days, next week I am going to go through, I'm going to get up super early Pacific Coast time. Take it for what you will. And I'm going to find a bunch of travel related products that are on sale, and I'm going to share those with you. So we'll just be going through and looking for some really amazing deals. Because I'm a Amazon associate or whatever, so I actually got a sneak preview of some of the deals that are going on next week, and I can't tell you these. I can tell you that there's some really good deals that are coming up, some amazing deals on certain things. And these are really, so we're going to talk about stuff that's related to travel. And hopefully you can save a bit of money if you've got a trip coming up and you want to, you need to restock some stuff. This is a great way to do it. So stay tuned for that next Wednesday. Number 9, ships are cashless. So except for the casino, on most of the ships, some of them will charge your cabin card to play in the casino, but otherwise everything you buy is going to be charged to your room. So if you need to buy a sun hat in the gift shop, that's charged to your room. If you decide you really need to buy some brand new gold earrings, then that's going to get charged to your room. So just be aware of that, and obviously keep an eye on where your cruise card is, whether it's a cruise card or whether it's a medallion. If you're sailing on Princess, it looks just like an air tag. It's kind of handy. But again, that's how you're going to charge everything. So you want to make sure that you are conscious of where that is, and also keep an eye on your spending, because sometimes you might have a few drinks and decide that it's a really good idea to go buy some sparkly earrings. And then you get the bill when you're ready to leave. It's not good. Okay, this one is probably one of the most important ones, and something that a lot of people even people who've cruised before don't necessarily know. Do not flush anything down the toilet other than toilet paper. Don't bring your own toilet paper from home, because it's soft and you like that, but it doesn't matter. It won't work in their systems. There's kind of like a septic system. And so, in order for the flush to work properly, you cannot flush anything other than toilet paper. You risk not only clogging your toilet, but your neighbor's toilets, possibly even the whole floor, possibly even that whole section of the ship. Just don't do it. 2 years ago we sailed on, I think it was on Princess, when I was sailing with Tammy, and I think there was some problem on the ship, and I think somebody had accidentally flushed their dentures. And other stuff, any kind of wipey things. No wipies in the toilet. The wipies go in the garbage bin. That's it. So just bear that in mind. Now, if you're going on a cruise and you don't want to get the beverage package because it's too expensive, the booze package, people who have cruised before, I'll tell you what, every single person not in the travel industry who I know who's cruised, they will always tell me, oh, just put booze in a shampoo container and put it in your checked bags. It's no problem. Well, okay, first of all, you're committing fraud, because the cruise company's contract for sailing says no booze, don't bring it on board. So if you're going to violate that right off the get-go, like, probably not destined to have a good cruise. If they find it, they will confiscate it. They won't save it for you. Yeah, so I would, just don't. You are on some cruise lines like Princess, you're allowed to bring a bottle of wine. Who are we sailing? Explora? Are we doing a cruise on them in January? They're a more upscale cruise line, and with them, you're allowed to bring as much as you want. But that is not the norm. Most of them, you're allowed to bring one bottle of wine, and that's it. No booze, no hard alcohol, no beer. So just bear that in mind, and that might make you consider getting the booze package. The beverage package, I should say, also includes pop, soda, as well as fancy coffees like espressos, cappuccinos. Those are often not included in the regular cruise. You can go to the buffet. You can get drip coffee, juice. It was probably going to be included, but it's it all. If you want to do anything beyond just those basic drinks, you're going to want to consider the beverage package because it does add up. And on some cruises, like on Norwegian, water is not included. If you want bottled water, it's extra and it's expensive. So do bear that in mind. If you get a drink package, then that counts towards your total daily. It depends on the cruise line again, whether that counts towards your maximum 15 drinks a day. But of course, if you're drinking a lot of water, that can add up pretty quickly, right? Number 13, cabins are tiny. Don't expect a big closet, so pack light. That's kind of a redundant to what I said about bringing the hooks, magnetic hooks. But yeah, on some of the ships, the cabins are, it's like, are you kidding me? Usually what they're going to do with your suitcase, your cabin steward will put them underneath the bed. So it's a great way to store them. But if you've got tons and tons of clothes, there just isn't the space for them. When Tammy and I sailed on Princess, we were on, I think it was the Discovery Princess, but I'm not entirely sure. And it had a massive closet area. So it just depends. Each ship's going to be a little bit different, and each cruise line is going to be a little bit different on that one. That's number 13. Where's number 14? 14. Only use the ship Wi-Fi. If you are in port and you're using data because you've got data coverage in that area, that's fine. But what you have to understand is the ship has satellite communications. And if you connect into their data network, you'll be paying satellite prices, which are huge. So as a safeguard, always just connect to the ship Wi-Fi so that you don't have to worry about exponentially increasing your cruise costs. Number 15, all aboard means all aboard. They will not wait for you. Now, exceptions to that. If you go on and we're talking the first day. The first day, you gotta get it together. If you can't make it on board on time for the initial departure of the ship, they're gonna leave you, and they probably well should, because chances are this is gonna happen more than once. If you are taking an excursion, if you go into port, you take an excursion, and you're late getting back. If you are not on an excursion that you booked with the cruise ship, they may wait for you if operationally they have the ability to do so, but they're not going to wait very long. So this is where I always enjoy grabbing a cocktail or a glass of wine, finding a nice spot that overlooks the pier and watching for pier runners. Pier runners is what they're called. All of you who've cruised before, you know this. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I think when I sailed to Alaska, we saw somebody running to the ship, and they were able to get on. But holy man, they were dripping with sweat, and they were running. They looked panicked, like they weren't going to get on. So let me know if you've seen anything like this, and if so, where. But they always say to take the cruise ship excursions because they're guaranteed to wait for you. Well, the reality is they know where the excursion is, they know where the group is, they know how far away you are. Operationally, if they can wait, they will. If you're gonna be 2 hours delayed, 3 hours delayed because of traffic or whatever, a protest in Rome or I don't know, whatever. If you're gonna not come back until far too late and the rest of the cruise is gonna be now possibly affected because they're gonna have to modify the itinerary, they will leave you. They will cover your costs to get to the next port to rejoin the ship. But if that's your last port day, and then the next day or 2 are at sea, then that kind of was the end of your cruise. And then they will arrange to, take your luggage off and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah. So, this is where if you're booking an excursion and of course, they will know what's going on in the area, but if you're booking an excursion and it's a long excursion, you're obviously there's more of a risk involved with that. But as I say, cruise line will usually either wait for you or they'll cover your costs to get to the next port. Non-cruise line excursions probably can cost less, but you don't have that guarantee. So, yeah, something to bear in mind for sure. Okay, number 16. We are. Oh, okay. So technically, you don't need to take your passport when you go into port. You should, just in cases, because if something happens and you need to have proper identification, if you don't have your passport with you, well, you're kind of stuffed. But you're not going to get any passport stamps is the other sort of drawback. So that's where, doing an all-inclusive thing, here's the thing. You can cruise through Europe and you can see, Turkey and Monaco and Italy and Spain without having to pack up your stuff and change hotels and all that kind of stuff. Do the check-in, check-out, all of that nasty stuff. So it's a great way to see things. You're just not going to get the passport stamp. Still going to get the experience though, and I'd say the experience probably far outweighs the benefit of getting the passport stamp. So just bear that in mind. Port days, especially in the Caribbean and Mexico, are going to be very busy days for people getting off the ship. That's part of the whole reason why many people will cruise is because they want to experience these different destinations. So, of course, on a port day, you're going to see a lot of people are going to exit the ship. So, for example, if you're sailing Princess, this is not the time that you want to be booking the sanctuary. So, the sanctuary being a private area on the ship, which is adults only, where you have loungers and everything just like you do on the rest of the ship, but it's less crowded because you have to pay to get in. Usually they'll serve you, little snacks and stuff like that, as well as drinks. Alcoholic drinks, of course, either fall under your beverage package or you're paying for them, but the snacks are all included. But this is we did this once on a Princess ship, and it was when we booked it for the morning, thinking that we would do it for a half day and then go into port for the afternoon. Well, it was kind of a waste of time because the ship was empty anyways. Like, we could have sat down on any of the loungers down by the pool. They weren't covered in towels like they normally would be. So I would recommend doing that for your prearranged something like that for your at sea days is a really good use of that space. Perhaps for the afternoon of a port day, because that's when you'll find a lot of people will come back and they'll just decide that they're not going to go back off the ship again. They'll come back on and have lunch, and then they may or may not venture off the ship again. But but those are good days for just enjoying the rest of the ship without all the crowds. These are also really good days to get port spa deals. So do look for those. They may or may not be listed at the beginning of the cruise, but they might be more towards the sea day that they'll be advertising these. So great opportunity for you to get some stuff done. And if you're not a spa person like me, maybe you want to get your teeth whitened or, your eyebrows trimmed or whatever, they do all of that stuff. And I haven't looked at the prices lately, but in the past, doing things like the teeth whitening was significantly less than if you were to do it like at home. So definitely something to consider. And port days. Oh, as another thing is, if you're in a port where you're reasonably close to everything that's happening, like the Bahamas, for example, or not so much Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan maybe, some of the other ones in the Caribbean. If it's easy, and or Cozumel is a great example. So if you want, get off the ship, go do some touring, do some shopping, maybe do an excursion, and then come back on the ship for lunch so that you're not spending extra money. And then in the afternoon, once you've filled up, then go back out and check more stuff out, do more exploring. Just be back on time. Alternatively, decide to try somewhere new and find a local eatery that looks good. Check out reviews. I would go to Google reviews for sure and check these out to find out someplace that's good, or see if the ship has any recommendations, and throw some money into the local economy. I mean, this is one of the biggest reasons why people are rebelling against cruisers in Venice and other parts of Europe, is because especially like if you're sailing on MSC and there's thousands of people on these ships, and for example, they do a really amazing itinerary for the Canary Islands, which I was going to be doing later this year, but everything's changed on that. So instead, going to the Rue in Aruba and then doing a Mexican cruise in October. Yay, looking forward to that. Seriously, genuinely looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a blast. I know that sounded kind of sarcastic, but no, I'm genuinely looking forward to it. But yeah, the biggest issue is people would do these excursions where they're prepaying for a ship excursion, again, so that they're guaranteed they're not going to get stuck. And then they go back on the ship and eat. Then they come back into the area and they're walking around again, but nobody's spending any money. So they have this massive influx of people. I mean, there's some ports where I'll look at, like in not so much Cabo, but anytime I'm staying somewhere where there is a port nearby, and this is a super good tip actually for people who aren't cruising, but who are going to be at an all-inclusive resort or just a regular hotel or an Airbnb or something like that, in a place where there is a cruise port. Go on to cruisemapper.com. It's free, and you can see by date and by port which ships are coming in. You can also go into their specifications and you can see what the total maximum capacity is. So you can see, I mean, I've looked at it some days and there's like 6 ships in the Bahamas, for example. And that can add up to like 20,000 people. So 20,000 extra people, maybe that's not the day that you want to go and be walking around in town and looking for some, shopping or something like that. So something to bear in mind. But again, like I said, Cruise Mapper, you don't need an account. You don't need to pay for it. It's a free website and it shows you all the ships, where they're going. There's sometimes itinerary changes, so it's not always going to be 100% accurate, but it gives you a pretty good idea of what to expect. And that can be a really helpful planning tip. Okay, another big secret is on going home day. They're going to tell you what time you need to disembark. And if you are the type of person that's got a big suitcase, you're going to leave it outside the night before. It's a really weird situation. This really threw me off the first time I cruised, because my first, I've done a bunch of repositioning cruises, but my first proper cruise, where it was like a week-long cruise with port days and excursions and all that kind of stuff, was in 2019. And that was to Alaska. And of course, being told, like, so you get back to, say, Vancouver on Saturday, and on Friday night, they're telling you you've got to put your luggage outside the room and you just leave it in the hallway. And this was, when they would ask you these 3 questions at the airport. Has anyone else packed your bag? Have you left your bag outside of your possession at any time? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, so everybody on the cruise ship had to have said yes to these questions, in which case, huge extra issues and stuff like that. Where did my mouse go? There we go. Angela's saying always takes a suitcase down with them. And you know what? That's fine. If it's a smaller suitcase, great. If you are up on a higher floor and you have to use the elevators are a nightmare on disembarkation day. So that becomes a challenge, because you usually are going to get off of the ship on deck 4 or 5, maybe even lower. So that becomes a challenge. But if you've just got a small rollerboard, then I would say 100% go for breakfast, especially if this isn't your home port. If you're doing a Caribbean cruise, you're sailing back to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, and then you're going to have a couple extra days there to take in the sights and, check things out, then yeah, have some breakfast. Why wouldn't you have breakfast on the ship? It's included and you paid for it. Main dining room generally is going to be open. Not all ships, interestingly enough, not all ships open the main dining room for breakfast and lunch. So bear that in mind, but the buffet will be open. So you can always go up and grab something to eat. They want you out of your cabin at a specific time. I think it's like 8 in the morning. So you're going to have to get up early, but you can get out of your cabin and you can still stay on the ship and have a bite to eat. All the bars are going to be closed. So there's no mimosas on going home day, but at least you can enjoy something to eat. And yeah, you may see always large. I get your work. Yeah, you get your workout for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, part of the reason they do it is so that they can help you. They'll take all the luggage for you, and then it makes it easier for pickup and stuff like that. But yeah, just bear that in mind, that if you keep your bag with you, then you are going to have to be responsible for getting it off the ship. If you decide not to keep your bag with you, then you have to there's a couple of things. So you're going to go out for dinner and stuff like that. You're going to leave your bag outside the room. So first off, you need to make sure that you've accounted for any sleepwear that you might need that evening. Second of all, you need to account for whatever you're going to wear the next day to get off of the ship. So you're going to want to have any jackets or anything like that in case you wake up and it's cold or windy or whatever. And also a bag to carry today's clothes in. So yeah, just bear that in mind, that you need to be a little bit organized, a little bit prepared if you are going to leave your bag outside of the cabin. And this is what the vast majority of people will do. To me, it boggles my mind. I mean, the whole concept of just freely leaving it in the hallway. I guess there's cameras everywhere, but I just don't trust people. I trust the employees because they'll get sacked if they do anything. But other passengers, no, I don't know. Oh, and okay, now we've talked a lot about my final tip for the day is we've talked a lot about the food on a cruise ship, and it's everywhere. I mean, there's usually the main buffet, then there's usually a more casual buffet outside. There's the main dining room, which may or may not be open for breakfast and lunch, but definitely it's open for dinner. They may have high tea on certain days, where they're going to have all those really awesome little triangle sandwiches and scones and, all that kind of stuff. You have a nice cup of tea with it. Personally, I'd be like, can I have a glass of champagne or a mimosa? But I mean, this is, just living the dream, right? No judgment. There's usually ice cream, pizza, burgers, hot dogs. These are all available on the main pool deck, the Lido deck, where you're going to have just quick, easy bites around the pool. There's probably going to be a coffee shop somewhere on the ship that is kind of like a Starbucks, but not. Some of these ships, the Starbucks type places are included. Others, they are not. On Princess, it was included. Some of the fancier coffees were not. But oh, thanks, Chet. Or Robin, I don't know who, Chet and Robin. But yeah, and let me know what other tips I've missed. I'm sure I've missed a ton. It was funny actually how easy I came up with these. Just thinking about the basics and all that stuff that's rattling around up there. But yeah, lots of stuff to consider. But like I say, the food is everywhere, literally everywhere. So it and it smells great. And if you get up in the morning, I know, for example, Tammy, she sees that there's going to be creme brulee on the menu for dessert for dinner in the main dining room, and escargot for a starter. There's no holding her back. This is where she's eating. And my stomach's growling as I talk about these things. The food is good. It's plentiful. If you don't like it, send it back. If it's good, have another. There's no limits. There's no restrictions. Yeah, there she is. Yeah, you go, girl. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah. So pizza, midnight snack, great. So the average cruiser gains 5 to 10 pounds in a 1-week cruise. Now, okay, a lot of that's going to be just salt. These are salt for flavor. Salt is flavor. Fat is flavor. But that's going to, help you retain water and help you, you're going to feel it. So, just, pace yourself. Also, your body's just not physically used to taking in that much food. I mean, I see them at the buffet and they'll come back with like plates of fresh fruit and plates of pancakes and plates of pastries and, and ice cream, and they're going back for more and more and more. A lot of it gets wasted. For sure. A lot of it gets wasted, but also a lot of it just gets consumed, and I'm not sure which is worse. But yeah, like 5 to 10 pounds, that's a lot. Like, imagine if you lost 5 or 10 pounds in a week, you'd be like, Yahoo. But gaining 5 to 10 pounds in 1 week, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 10 pounds. I mean, unless you're a pretty big person, 10 pounds is noticeable. And that's a lot of food. I mean, 1 pound is like 3,000 calories, if I digress. So that's a lot of food. A lot of food. A lot of calorific food anyways. So pace yourself. Take it easy. If you're eating a bunch of fruit that you don't normally eat, you're going to have tummy trouble. A lot of rich food that you're not used to eating can have tummy trouble. You don't want to waste your cruise in your cabin, not feeling well. So take it easy, enjoy, try different things, but maybe not all things. So yeah. So those are my tips for today. I hope you enjoyed them. If I've missed anything, jot them down below. I'm sure you all have lots of other tips and ideas that I've missed, because there are just so many things to know and things to take advantage of. But hopefully this gives you some ideas of some things if you are new to cruising, or if maybe stuff that you have cruised a lot and you didn't know, hadn't thought of. So hopefully you enjoyed these tips. If you did, please consider giving the video a thumbs up. We really appreciate that. And also don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't really do anything other than it's going to notify you if I do a video and if I go live. So yeah. So thanks for tuning in today. Okay, well, I hope you're not driving and watching this at the same time. Incidentally, if you are, be safe. And also do note that if you come up to Canada, well, at least in BC, that's a major fine. It works out to about $500 for your first infraction if you are using your phone while you're driving. Phone, tablet, iPad. I did see somebody once driving with an iPad in front of them. Like, seriously? Yeah, if you get caught twice, it's like $1,000 is your fine for driving and texting, driving and looking at your phone. Just looking at your phone, touching your phone. It's crazy. A little bit extreme, but it is what it is. Yes, have fun in Nashville for sure. And see you. Thanks for tuning in today, Sea Legs. I really appreciate it. And oh yeah, bad boy. All right. Well, I hope you all have a great weekend. Have a fabulous week, and tune in next Wednesday if you have time. Love to see you there. Like I said, we're going to be talking about some hot Prime Day deals on Amazon. And I've also got, I'll put a link. If you want to try Prime for free for 30 days, I have a link for that. So you can try it for free if you've never done that before. Oh, hello, Dee Dee. Oh, well, you could always go back and watch it, but we missed you. You did get mentioned earlier today. I forget what I was talking about. Oh, yes, because you commented on cruising. So yeah, you're already a star. You're already part of the show. So thanks for stopping by. So we'll see you next Wednesday, same time, same channel. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments, and I hope you guys have a great week. So bye for now.